Tom Brokaw wrote a book called The Greatest Generation, and it was about common people that did uncommon heroic things during the Second World War. Mr. Mario Taylor was involved during the Second World War, but he came back, built a very successful business, raised a successful family. I never met anybody that I had any more respect for than Mr. Taylor.
Family growing up, it was rough for him. He came up from such a place that they struggled for food. I mean, if it wasn't for him and some of his sisters and his one brother didn't go out and go get the shrimp or the fish that night, they didn't have food. You know, they were just poor.
And we had a well out back of the house. We had to tote water, and then we had outdoor toilets. And we didn't have nothing when growing up around here. We just poor people.
And he was the provider. I mean, he was the one that helped his mom and dad. And even as they got older, all his sisters still turned to him.
I don't even have a high school education. As far as I ever went was the 10th grade. Because I had to quit and work, help out with my parents.
His dad couldn't write, so he was 16 at the time. They might have somewhat forged his age or altered that a little bit, but his father signed an X for him to go in the Navy at 16.
There were one of the ships that I was on, that one in Valeria, they had a lot of belt-driven carrier equipment, you know, the old-timey stuff. And sometimes they'd have to fly refrigeration people over. And the engineering officer, every time I wanted to fly, he'd put me to working with him. That's how I got involved, refrigeration, air conditioning. But when I got out to service, they had a guy named here, his name was P.D. McRae Refrigerations. He was the only one here to do commercial and stuff, and I went to see him and he gave me a job.
And he worked for him for 3 or 4 years, and then he started his own company in 1951.
He started it as a means to give his kids more than he had.
He had that strong work ethic that you see most entrepreneurs that are successful have. The day wasn't done until the job was done. And I also think that he wanted to focus on the integrity, the honesty issue, build a good name. His company was perceived by him as part of his family. He wanted his family to be respected. He wanted his company to be respected.
They built the Carrier name in St. Augustine, hands down. They're the reason that Carrier is so strong in this area.
Carrier made Taylor Refrigeration as much as Taylor Refrigeration helped make Carrier. Like forever, my dad's trucks, Rebel's trucks, my grandfather's trucks, everything was blue. So everything's blue. Like I just thought that's what Taylor Refrigeration was, and Carrier was a part of it.
He represented Carrier to the highest level. We knew that when Mario Taylor installed equipment, that it was done right and that his customers were not going to be coming back to us to complain about him.
He's a perfectionist. He wants it done right, and if it's not, he will let you know.
When I first started here, myself and Rebel and Butch, which was my other brother, I mean, you had a 30-minute lunch or hour lunch, you better have been back. I mean, we didn't, you know what I mean? He was by the book. And it was with all of us, not just the employees. You were there when you're supposed to be, you did your job, and I mean, he was right over your shoulder.
He could be tough. I've seen him be really tough. But most of the time when Mario was tough, he was right. Because we either didn't do the job or didn't perform or whatever. And he was not shy to let you know that either. But he was very fair and he was very honest.
And there were some people that would thought on occasion that he might have been a little unreasonably demanding. But I never felt that way. The reason I didn't is that from the day he started the business, when I didn't know him then, but his focus and objective of Taylor Refrigeration was to meet and exceed his customers' goals.
When he said he'd do something, he'd do it. And they can, you know, when you give that kind of service, people come back.
If you ain't got good customer service, you're not gonna stay in business long. And if you got good service and treat people right, they're gonna treat you right.
Well, I think Mario was one of the few hometown boys that made it big and took care of his family.
He was able to start something that's provided for us and will be beyond his death. Because if you can come from literally where he came to where we are now, the sky's the limit for us. I mean, we can accomplish anything if we work hard and want it enough.
I think they're going to grow. I mean, they've added some departments in their business. I think they're going to grow with us and as, a family, as a business. It's passed down, generation to generation, and I'm sure when Wade and Luke are ready, Rebel's going to kind of step out a bit, just like, he did after his father retired. And Mr. Taylor is here quite often just to make sure they're still carrying on that legacy.
God, I pray that I'm able to be 87 years old and walk in and see my grandchildren or great-grandchildren and the family. I hope it lasts into the hundreds of years.